This is the Captain's Jug of Thoughts podcast.
So this guy comes up to me yesterday, and I thought this was absolutely perfect. He goes, so I don't know, maybe like 20 years ago. He goes, I'm in my mid-60s, just to give you a little backdrop on myself. He goes, about 20 years ago, he's like, I'm thinking like, maybe I shouldn't drink so much. He's like, so I start reading about it, and he's like, and I'm finding out all these facts about like how drinking is like bad for you. He's like, and I'm like shocked to read some of these things. He goes, so I quit reading.
Yeah, he's like, it's a superstition.
He's like, I haven't read
they
a thing.
say. Yeah.
I haven't read a thing in 20 years. He's like, well, that's the end of that.
I like it. It was not an enjoyable experience.
No.
I read something, it upset me.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it.
He starts dying laughing. He's like, let me have another Molson, bud. I'm like, you're great. Thank God. More people need to set books down if that's what they're going to read about.
Yeah, I don't read about health things. I mean, that's the thing. When you start like watching those health documentaries or you start getting into anything, you realize that like we can't consume anything
Right.
without it doing something bad to you.
Right.
Like, I don't know what the fuck you could eat. You paper, you just
Paper.
drink water. Everything else is going to kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So you just got to live it up.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but yeah, you have to. I mean, I see the things that some of these people are eating, and more power to you. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's not for me. Like, I'd rather, like we just did on our little break there, eat 20 wings.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and then I think when it starts to actually have those negative effects, when you're young, you do whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
And then you get to a point where you're like, it would be nice to take a normal shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why doesn't it stop dripping when I'm peeing?
Yeah. Oh, age.
Oh, age. Yeah. At least we're lucky enough to be seeing it.
Yeah, really.
A lot of the guys that were here yesterday, there was a continuous comment, it seemed like yesterday, because everyone pretty much, well, not everyone, but a large portion of the people were 50 and 60 and up. And, a lot of people hadn't seen each other in a few years. It's a birthday party for this guy, and I think it was his 50th. And, hey, how are you doing? Well, am I still on the right side of the grass? I must have heard that 20 times yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. Oh, man. There was some characters here yesterday. It was a great day.
Well, yeah, those people who they quit reading and they keep, having fun.
Right.
Turn into some colorful characters.
Absolutely.
And that's the type of people you meet in a place like this. You go out to normal places with normal people who just talk about blah 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 and sip on a whatever.
Yeah.
No, they're not hitting that side, as Hunter Thompson called it, the margins of society.
Yeah.
The people that let their freak flag fly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to do it sometimes. You got to cut loose. I don't know how you can just be like, straight and narrow all the time.
I know there's people like, we were at the mall the other day and I see a dude who's like, buying his suit and whatever. He just looked like a normal guy, probably my age, but like, business guy, real job, probably nice, normal apartment, normal parents, normal everything. He's going to meet a normal wife. And I'm just like, how could you live like that?
Right.
What are you doing? And then he looks at me and he's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm the weird one?
Right.
There's a great story that I think Jerry Seinfeld told it in that comedian documentary. And it's about like a band. There's this band and they're traveling to their gig and their bus breaks down. And they get off the bus, they got to walk to the gig, and it's snowing, and they're just in the middle of this field, and they're just all soaking wet, and they're carrying their instruments to this gig that's not going to pay them anything, and they've been on the road for months or years, and they're all, they're just the most disheveled group of people, and they come upon this house, and they look in the window, and there's a nice family sitting down to a dinner at a fire, and the one guy looks at the other guy and goes, how do people live like this? That's what it is.
That's fantastic.
The artists, the musicians, the weirdos, that's, there's just that sect of society, but we're the ones who entertain you, goddammit.
That's right. Remember the time that we had to carry your equipment back to our buddy's house?
Yeah. Had a little run-in with a stop sign.
with the stop sign that
didn't exactly stop.
Yeah, we just didn't. We didn't see it in time. I don't think.
We made some new friends, and then our friend went off with those friends, and we had to we didn't want to leave I had an amp and guitars and stuff. We didn't want to leave it in the car.
Right.
And we couldn't take the car.
And we couldn't take the car.
So we just carried it back in the middle of the night. And I remember you're on the phone just carrying a guitar.
Right.
We're just still making plans for later.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what
It's
it
only
was.
midnight.
Just, somebody like looked out their window and was like, what the hell is going on? out there?"
We got to find another friend to go pick up our friend from our new friends. Because we're unable to complete this task at the time.
No.
It was, and then... and then I'm pretty sure we laid down some beats in the basement about 3 hours later.
Yeah, we all reconvened eventually.
We really did.
And got done what we were going to do anyways.
Right.
So that's cool.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting evening that turned out, not the best for one of our friends, but turned out to be a pretty fun night overall.
Could have been worse.
Yeah, it definitely could have been worse.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories you want to walk the line on.
Oh God, I know. do we tell this story? Yeah, we're telling the story.
We were younger. Me and my friends were a lot younger. We went to a concert by the Allman Brothers. I believe it was Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead and then the Allman Brothers. So
Nice.
do the math.
It's a great show.
We weren't having pops.
No.
So afterwards, we made some friends again. And the friends wanted to hang out a little bit. We didn't want to, but they didn't have a choice. So
They made us.
we're hanging out with our friends in their office, and we got in this weird conversation because we were all, Allman Brothers banded out in our heads. Mm-hmm. So we start talking about these things, and my buddy brings up the idea to this guy that he's like, man, like if you would have just not seen us, or if you would have just let us continue on our way, we would have gone back to our tent and slept and gotten up, and life would go on the same. But because you wanted to, because you had your reasons, you had to stop us, and now everything's off. Now you're doing paperwork. Now we're all here. Like, it's just, we're talking about the whole thing, like the point of it all, which is pointless. It's just a waste of everything. It's non-violent issues that they're solving.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
All you're doing is wasting a bunch of people's time, including your own.
Yeah. And my buddy just kept saying, that's wild. That's wild. And the guy goes, it's wild? He's like, yeah, that's wild. And the guy, our new friend, takes his pen he's writing with and taps his name tag, and his name is WYLDE.
Oh my God.
His name is Wild. Once again, we're coming from an Allman Brothers show, so just
wow,
our brains
that is wild.
fell out of our heads, and we're just seriously, like, are you Jesus? We started praying to him, and
Right.
it freaked us out.
And I'm sure that this new friend of yours was like, are they being sarcastic?
Yeah.
Are these guys fucking with me?
Are they fucking with me now?
Yeah.
Who's walking who?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real fuck with you. There was one time. There's a girl that I'm still wondering what happened to her, because we're walking down the street in the city. We're on our way to another thing. Me and at least 6 of my friends. And there's this girl, this hippie looking chick. She's sitting on her stoop,
Okay.
smoking a cigarette. And she's all, she got the skirt and the hemp necklace and all this stuff,
Sure.
and the big pupils, and she's,
Having a good old time.
yeah. She's like, what's up, guys? And then all 6 of us at the exact same time with the exact same inflection go, what's going on? Like, dude, exactly like that.
Right.
Like, we planned it.
Right.
And like the look on this girl's face was like, she just couldn't even believe it. She just jaw dropped. She was silent and just watched us walk away. And I'm always like, what happened to her?
No wonder what happened to that girl.
Did she just get freaked out? No, none of her friends were there. Nobody would believe her.
Right.
I just picture her going back up to the apartment and just sitting there, and everybody's like, what happened?
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know.
I'm not really sure. Hopefully I'm not going to end up in a mental asylum.
Some sort of cult out there? Yeah. And then you start playing that song that, hey, yeah, what's going on? Like,
Oh no! It's happening again.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. What is going on?
Exactly.
No idea.
Why do I do these things to myself? I said, stay inside.
I need to quit smoking. Good. I mean, yeah, we could, and had tons of stories about going to shows. We have the same, that culture, the Grateful Dead culture, the thing that they started. If anybody has any interest, go to Amazon and watch the 6-part Grateful Dead thing that Scorsese produced.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, and it gets into it and does it honestly.
Yeah,
and
it really is a really great show.
Dude, there's been a lot of bands, and even if you don't like their music and hate everything about it, you have to acknowledge the insane thing they created.
Yeah.
The culture they created.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it still continues to this day with all these other different bands. You go to every concert I've ever been to, I've seen at least 5 Grateful Dead t-shirts. Doesn't matter.
Oh,
You
God,
go
yeah.
to a Metallica show and there's Grateful Dead people there.
Absolutely.
Dude, it is a culture that they created.
Yeah.
And I mean, the hippies are funny people. Here's a story. We were playing at this thing. We played this festival, and then on the Sunday after, they did a corporate outing for all the sponsors, and it was out at Porter on the Lake, which is a big park on the lake. And there's this enclosed little awning thing we played in, and we were like, we're going to play for all the corporate guys, and then they're going to hire us for gigs. We're going to make a bunch of money.
Right.
What really happened was they all got drunk playing golf, came and ate, and everybody left. So we're sitting there by ourselves, and we're out there, and we're like, dude, we're on the lake in this beautiful thing. We're all set up. Let's just jam.
Right. Of course.
So it was like us and a few of our friends, and we were just jamming out. We started playing Fish songs and Dead songs. And dude, like a zombie movie, out of the woods, not out of a trail, out of the woods, like one by one, all these hippies materialized. All these kids, like 1 and then 2, and you'd see them just show up, and they came out of the woods, and they were like, there's this band just ripping Grateful Dead music in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody out here.
There's
And
nobody
we're
out
just
here.
jamming out. I'm telling the truth. Their dog had a hemp necklace. These type of people. That's the type of people they were. And they were like, what the fuck is going on? Once again, they're like, is this real? Is this
Yeah.
real life? Like,
Yeah.
just they were out in the woods, and then just a band appeared playing their favorite music, and they started dancing. And I'm like, dude, any musician, go play a Dead song, a hippie will show up.
Exactly.
They will just show up out of the woods.
Yeah. They're a half mile down on the lake playing catch in the water with their dog, and they're like, is the Grateful Dead playing somewhere? I swear to God, I hear them. Let's walk. It's through the woods this way.
I mean, you know, and that opens up. We've both share a love of that music and that band and going to those shows, which it just every single time you go, you never go to a show like that where you're like, yeah, it was normal, nothing happened.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to a lot of shows. You go to shows, you go to a Wilco show, not a lot of normal, except for the 3 Deadheads.
Right.
Normal people who got a babysitter, took the night off work, went to a show, had a glass of wine, and you know what I mean?
Right.
You go to one of these Dead shows or jam band shows, something interesting always happens.
Yeah, you never come back and you're like, oh, yeah, pretty good set list. End of story.
Yeah. Event, you're
Never.
like, dude, there was this guy with a giant fluffy hat who was running from security and climbed a tree.
Well, I mean, it's just like, we were talking about during set break, the girl that I saw, Jerry Garcia, almost killed.
Yeah, this is a great story. This shows like in that Amazon thing we were talking about, it showed Jerry as a real guy, just a musician who just wanted to play. But
Right.
whether he wanted it or not, that dude had some magical shit going on.
He absolutely did.
Yeah.
This
And
is
you
right-
saw it in person.
Yeah, I did. This is like right at the end of, right before he passed away, about a year before he passed away. I'm pretty sure it was 1994.
Yeah.
They're playing a show in Buckeye Lake, and 17 of me and my friends jump into one of my friend's parents' motorhome. Now, 17 of us, and we're all 17.
Yeah.
Like literally every single one of us. Like one or
Just
two
a-
guys, I think,
just a
were
box of
older
animals.
brothers. Yeah.
Box of animals.
Like not one person there is legally old enough to drink. And, we've got a ton of extracurricular activities in this thing.
Kale.
Yeah, lots of salad material,
Yes.
and lots of pop.
It's a Dead show if you can't figure it out.
So, we get to the show, and it's at this particular show. It's an amphitheater, and what they do is they open the gates, and you run for your spot. There are no seats. There's zero seating at all.
First come, first serve.
Yeah. Now we're all 17, so like we're in like the third or fourth row because we're like a lot of these people are old hippies and bikers and blah blah blah. Like they're not beating us to the front. So we're running and we're like, I'm in first. Yes. So we get up there. We all kind of reconvene up almost just to the left of the center of the stage. And we're like, all right, show starts in a little while. And, so we all sit in a big circle and, we unwrap our salads and start passing them around. Everyone was a little bit hungry, from the long 300-yard run.
Yeah.
The 300-yard dash.
Got to replenish.
Yes. You want to make it for the entire 3+ hour show that you're about to see.
Yeah.
So the show begins, and they're playing along, and all of a sudden there's this hippie girl next to me who is around my age, maybe a couple years older than me. I wouldn't say more than 21, and she begins to yell, and I don't know if for those of you who aren't familiar, the Grateful Dead had a wall of sound.
It was called the Wall of Sound.
It was called. So it was loud.
It was a technical achievement. They made it to travel miles and miles and miles.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And we are only, I'm literally 20 feet. 25 feet maybe away from Jerry Garcia himself.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
And I'm just I'm pretty sure just standing completely still with my mouth wide open staring at him.
Yeah.
Going, wow, this guy is unbelievable.
And he's just at work. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's got to be so weird.
I know. This is another day at the office.
Yeah, really.
So this girl starts yelling, "I love you, Jerry." And it was very difficult to even hear each other. When you were trying to say something during the concert,
Yeah.
you're literally putting your mouth to the other person's ear and yelling, and you're still like, what?
Yeah.
I can hear her plain as day. Now I know she's only 2 or 3 feet away from me, but still, I can hear her. She's almost and maybe even a little louder than the wall of sound.
Which is crazy.
It's insane. So she's, "I love you, Jerry, I love you," over and over.
Drive me nuts.
And
I
was
hate when
like,
people do that.
I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. How did I get next to the loudest person in this entire show?
I know. I hate that shit.
So Jerry does me a personal favor, looks at this girl, does a little point and a head nod and a wink, and she hits the ground like a sack of potatoes. And I was like, oh my God, he just killed her. I can't believe he just did that for me. And
with his mind.
Yeah, with his mind. And she's just, I look down and I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, she's not getting up.
Wow.
So I'm like,
From shrieking at the top of her lungs to on the ground.
on the ground,
And
out cold. Paramedics had to come. I shit you not.
Wow.
I'm sure that maybe there was something else at play, possibly dehydration
I'm
or
sure,
something along those lines,
She was fine. She was good enough to be screaming at the top of her lungs.
which may have been part of the reason
Yeah.
also.
But she was up and moving and talking.
She sure was.
And he just probably without even missing a lick,
No, he did not miss a lick.
just looked and just did a little wink at her and just dropped her.
He just did a little strum down, and as he came back up with his hand, gave her a little head nod and
Yeah.
a point, and then right back to the guitar, and boom, she goes down.
This Jedi shit.
It really was. It was one of the most amazing things
And
I've
he did
ever
the
seen.
favor because he probably heard her too and was like, I gotta shut this
There's
chick
no
up.
doubt that he heard her. He looked right at her. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it. I'm positive. I was standing right next to her. I was like, oh my God.
He probably knows he had those superpowers and he's like, I never do this unless it's absolutely necessary.
Right.
But this chick's driving everybody nuts.
She's driving me nuts. She's obviously driving everyone in the first 5 rows nuts.
I've been to shows where they were expensive tickets, and while the dude's playing, I'm here behind me, and I just
Right.
want to go, why are you here?
Why are you here?
You bought an expensive ticket, waited in line. It's been an all-day thing, and the guy's finally playing.
Right.
And you're just talking through the whole thing.
Right.
Shit that you could talk about any time of the day. There's a legend in front of you. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So to have the superpower to just wink at somebody and get them to shut up is amazing.
It's truly amazing. And then, so then they started to play, after the Paramedics came, took her away, everything like that. We had a little drums in space go on
Yeah.
about, 45 minutes later or something
Yeah.
like that. So we all reconvene into our perfect circle like we had before. And it's time to replenish and, get a little
Salad
food in
circle.
us.
It's a salad circle.
Yeah. So we pass around the salads and the kale and everything like that. And all of a sudden, there's some of our new friends with flashlights fucking come up.
Yeah.
And hey, what are you doing? eating salad. What are you doing? What kind of salad is that? Just organic salad. Very, very good stuff. Would you like a bite? Give me that. They took our goddamn salads.
Motherfuckers.
I didn't know they were even allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But the good thing was that they didn't take any of us.
Yeah, that's good. Because what are you going to do at that point? That's the thing with the Grateful Dead shows. Like, it's not America anymore.
Yeah.
Laws don't apply. Laws of physics don't apply.
Yeah.
This girl's voice was over, like, there's the decibels that they've created. It shouldn't be, it's a different planet. It really is. And I'm a fan, so I'm biased, but
Absolutely.
there's something just different about what goes on there. They tapped into something spiritual.
They really did.
And I never got to see Jerry, unfortunately. He's one of my favorite people ever.
Right.
But, I've seen a lot of the members of the Dead. I actually got to meet Phil one time, which was great. Here, I'll tell this. I've told this before, but they played at Art Park in Lewiston, our town. The fact that anybody from the Dead was playing Art Park was mind-blowing in itself.
It really was.
Because Art Park did not used to get acts like that. Now they get huge people all the time. Now, you know what I mean? I saw Primus and Jack White there within the last 2 weeks.
Right, exactly.
Which is crazy. But back in the day, it was not like that.
No, it was not.
God damn, it was crazy. So me and my buddy driving down Center Street, we see Phil Lesh and his wife leave the Orange Cat, the coffee shop.
Right.
And we were like, holy shit. And I'm pretty sure my buddy's window didn't work. So he opened his door a little bit and was like, Phil. And he looked and he waved and he's like, do we stop? And I'm like, I don't want to be like dorky fanboy.
Yeah, you
but
don't want to
this
be
is
that guy.
Once in a life. When is a member of the Grateful Dead going to be walking down the street? Like, I'm a fan of
in my presence.
Yeah.
And not like in my presence on a stage.
or like at a meet and greet or something.
Right, exactly.
And like I'm a fan, and I'm a fan of a lot of bands, but like if you get an American history book and flip to the 60s, there's a picture of this guy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they are cultural icons.
Absolutely.
I'm like, all right, we gotta go. Is that some Dead right there playing out of the phone?
Yeah, that's my ringtone.
They heard us. It's Jerry.
Jerry is back.
This is Jerry
He's alive
calling.
and well and living at the Jug.
So come on down Sundays. There's no shrieking annoying girls here. So all right, yeah, we stop, we pull the car, we get out, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, but come on, man, I can't. He's like, all right, you're cool. He could not have been nicer.
Right.
So we sat and we're chatting, shook his hand, and in my head, I'm like, this hand used to pass salad to Jerry Garcia. As a guitar player, that's massive.
Right. Absolutely.
So we're chatting with him, and I'm trying to talk about everything but the Grateful Dead. I start talking about like other musicians that like he's played with. Like
Right.
I don't want to just be like, what was it like when you made Truckin'? Like I don't want to be, you know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy.
You guys said Buffalo.
Yeah, right? So we're just talking, and he's like, oh, you guys are locals? And I'm like, yeah. Like, I live a block away. Like, yeah, we're incredibly local. We're talking about the venue, Art Park, and I'm like, yeah, our high school graduation was there.
Right.
He's like, really? Laughed his head off. Like, I was like, yeah, we walked across that stage to get our diplomas.
Right.
We were just there. He's like, oh, that's great. It's hilarious. Whatever. And chatted it up. Nicest guy in the world. We go to the show later that night. And we, met friends, had salads, had other things. It's a show.
Sure.
And at the end of all of Phil's shows, Phil, I believe, had like a liver or something, an organ donation.
Yes.
I've seen him a bunch of times where before they do their encore, he gives a speech about organ donors.
Right.
And he talks to the crowd a little bit.
Yep.
So we're sitting there in our headspace we're in. And he said something, I don't remember the actual quote, but he said something along the lines of, I met a couple young men who graduated on this stage. A couple nice guys around here. And like, that's all I remember. And I just was, once again,
Yeah.
I'm like, Phil Lesh
I think he's talking about me.
yeah, he was.
Right,
And then
right.
my buddy I was with looked at me, jaw on the ground. Like, Phil just referenced a conversation we had on the stage at Art Park. Like,
Right.
is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
Right. I mean, it's amazing that two members of the actual Grateful Dead, the original band, have personally done both of us favors now.
Yeah, really. Because they're just magical people. They just magical shit happens around them.
Yes. I mean, somehow they literally were able to touch everyone.
That was-
in one way or another.
I remember we were with another guy who didn't really know. He just was like part of the crew, and he was just, I don't think he got what was going on, and we were like freaking out about it after. I'm like, can't believe that just happened. He's like, you guys are pretty excited about your graduation, huh? Like, I don't think he got it. I thought we were so excited, like, we did it.
Yeah.
We passed. I'm like, no, I don't think he put together what was happening.
Right. Guys are pretty excited about your graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's what it is.
Yeah. Just really proud of myself, man. I got high merit.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll have a ton of those as this show progresses. I mean,
We absolutely will. I've got, and you, I know, have as well, about 20 more stories each, just
Yeah.
based on concerts, but even mostly just Dead concerts and,
Yeah.
and members of the
like
Dead
we said, I'm a
concerts.
fan of all music, and I go, to all sorts of different types of shows. But
Absolutely.
the Dead thing, the jam band thing, whatever that spirit is that's floating around,
Yeah.
it's something. Even
It's
if you
something.
hate that music, it's something to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
Look at Fish is like, they're part of that, a huge part of that. Name another band that sells out 12 nights at Madison Square Garden and didn't put out a record that year.
Right.
Name
Yeah.
another band that does that.
Yeah.
There isn't.
There is not.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So what did they book them for? They just put out a big album. They haven't put out an album in 3 years.
They just said they were doing it and it sold out in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds. It really is. It's an entity of its own. I don't know.
The whole thing.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
This is the Captain's Jug of Thoughts podcast.